order to be able to counteract the pressure and not allow your opponent any room, as we are going to see the Torkoal and that jump off. And of course, we know the item
Eject
on this
pack.
Torkoal.
Bye-bye, Torkoal.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, it's probably just going to be a hard Charizard switch in here to maybe amplify the situation. You've got the Chlorophyll boost already with jump off, so you're going to guarantee to outspeed and maybe try to get a very powerful move on.
Yeah, it's interesting. You could go to Charizard here. I wonder if Ursaluna is the fourth, because the tricky thing about Charizard is that you are specs, right? So you can Ghost Terra to get around the fake out on turn one, but you're not going to get a knockout onto either Pokemon because there's Focus Sash on Kilowattrel and Incineroar has the Assault Vest. I think the goal in this game is probably to, chip away, knock out the Incineroar, and ideally break the Focus Sash on Kilowattrel. So you can see Marco's really taking some time to decide, and there it is. Ursaluna is the fourth one, so committing to a faster mode here. Yeah,
and I think with good reason, because like you mentioned, there is also the interaction of Incineroar just going for that straight read of a knockoff, which will most likely pick up the KO on the Charizard if it does opt to go for the Ghost Terra. So a very interesting scenario already from the get-go. Kilowattrel, Incineroar. Over on Javier's side, you do have a couple of options of trying to match Tailwind in hopes that you can outspeed the Ursaluna whilst it has Tailwind set up and at least force a scenario where maybe you could get a parting shot off on the Ursaluna just in the nick of time.
Yeah, I think Jump Bluff right now is really scary because of the Sleep Powder pressure it applies. I think one of the interesting things when you use Jump Bluff is when do you want to actually click that Sleep Powder? Do you want to go for it immediately? We're seeing the Grass Terra immediately here from Javier, so the idea is, you know what? I'm just going to go for it because this is good defensively right now. But by going for that Grass Terra, you are now weak to Charizard in the back.
Yeah, as we do have the confirmation of terrestrialization here. Of course, it is Assault Vest. It does not have Parting Shot. But like you said, if we see Javier capable of knocking off that Flame Orb before it potentially may get any sort of damage incurred onto it, this will be really big because it will not get burned the following turn as Tailwind from Kilowattrel does outspeed that Ursaluna, confirmed, but Facade is trying to at least break the Focus Sash now.
Oh, it's a huge turn for Marco there. Gets the critical hit, but I think you're just looking for damage on the Kilowattrel. He's setting himself up perfectly for Charizard. Does not get baited into a Sleep Powder there. Says, look, you got Tailwind pressure. You can knock out my Jump Flip with a Flare Blitz, right? So I don't want to Sleep Powder into something, either Miss Sleep Powder or Happy Terra. Now we trade Tailwinds, but this is the setup he's looking for. Charizard is the star of this game, and he got exactly what he wanted out of turn one. You've gotten rid of the Focus Sash on Kilowattrel and Incineroar's Grass Terra, so now it's kind of a waiting room for Charizard to come out and just start clicking Heat Wave.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout, and at this point, you sort of like expended the terrestrialization option. Sure, you can maybe try to get a couple of pivots in or try to utilize this Incineroar as best as you can right now, but like you mentioned, Marco's just, as long as the sun is set up, and we did have a bit of a sneak peek over Javier's side. We see that the Trick Room mode is laying wait in the back on the bench.
So it's going to be the Terra here into the Jump Bluff. I think what's really interesting here is the Jump Bluff does not actually have any damage. It's Sleep Powder, Sunny Day, Tailwind, and Rage Powder, but it's still valuable as a support option, right? So Water Terra here is going to help it out defensively. Kilowattrel going for the Protect, which I think is correct because you want to pressure Thunderbolt onto Charizard. You are still faster than it. The Jump Bluff here decides to go for Sleep Powder, and the decision behind Water Terra is like, this way I ensure that I survive the turn. If you Flare Blitz into me, totally fine. We even see the Facade come out into Incineroar, and that's still decent damage.
Yeah, it's decent, but not quite enough. As Flare Blitz is actually focusing on the Ursaluna, nearly picks up the KO there, but of course, because there's no burn, there's not going to be any additional incremental damage dealt. It will not get KO'd, but like you said, this Jump Bluff in a very good position to be able to just nullify most of the attacks coming into that slot.
Okay, yeah, we see the Thunderbolt here. So the downside of Sleep Powder is it is only 75% accurate, and Miss here would be absolutely huge because you can just go for that super effective Thunderbolt onto the Jump Bluff. Kilowattrel, it's a question of whether or not the Charizard can just land its Heat Waves, basically. Now Charizard comes out. There hasn't been any chip damage onto the Porygon. I was wondering if you just headlong rush that slot. I would think the Charizard with the Solar Power in Sun can get the knockout. So now you can, of course, switch the Ursaluna out into Torkoal and go for Heat Wave. And I don't know if there's much Javier can do in response to that, because normally you would think, oh, like Protect and Trick Room. But if you Trick Room, then you just get Eruption by the Torkoal. So really nice pin by Marco here, and we are going to switch that Torkoal switch in.
And I think Marco has to hone in to the Heat Wave in order to respect the Ursaluna, just in case it ends up in a situation where it starts sweeping. If there's, let's say, for example, an overheat focus, but no, it's just going to be the Weather Ball lock-in here. Does guarantee, of course, the Ursaluna is out. And like you mentioned, Aaron, we've got this Torkoal in a situation where it doesn't mind if Trick Room gets set up or not. It just wanted to be able to deal damage, even if it has to take a Terra Blast to be able to do so with a critical hit.
Ooh, does eat up a crit, but I don't think it's enough. And the idea behind Weather Ball there is you've kind of pinned Javier, saying, like, one of the downsides of this Charizard is it actually misses a lot with the Heat Wave and Overheat, and you don't want to risk a miss there because then Ursaluna gets the attack off. So it's much safer to actually go for that Weather Ball option if the Ursaluna protects. But what's Porygon going to do, right? If it doesn't set up Trick Room, then Charizard just Weather Balls that slot again next turn. The best it could have hoped for maybe is like Ice Beam Freeze, but now it's just going to be Helping Hand plus Weather Ball. I wonder if this gets the knockouts. Solar Power, Choice Specs, Helping Hand boosted in the sun. I think it might be enough. Let's see.
Let's find out. Weather Ball from this Choice Spec Solar Power is enough because this Pokemon is absolutely broken, especially with...
Maybe Marco's willing to, mix things up a little bit, but yeah, it is going to be the Ursaluna. I think it's just way safer here. Charizard like can't protect. Ursaluna's so much bulkier as well.
Yeah, it checks out, and I guess the real tough decision from Javier's side is the fact that the Torkoal's on the other side of the field. So if you want to hard commit to a Trick Room mode, you still have to deal with that on the other side of the speed spectrum, and that's really a place that you don't want to be in.
Absolutely. So I think there's the interesting option of trying to snipe off Jump Bluff immediately. There's that Flare Blitz rather than going for something like a Fake Out or Knockoff and say, you know what, I just need to get rid of Jump Bluff. And so Tailwind does come out though. So then the question is the Ursaluna Incineroar interaction, but we're going to see both Tailwinds traded to start.
Yeah, run back so far identical to game one. Headlong Rush.
Does it just KO? It does! Yeah, I needed a Grass Terra there. Oh.
No terrestrialization is so pivotal right now. Javier has lost so much momentum in terms of resource management. Incineroar is always such a great Pokemon, especially with an Assault Vest in a Sun matchup. It sort of feels like you have to protect it a bit better. And whoa, okay, we saw a bit of a sneak peek there.
There it is. Golden Go does make an appearance here, and now I think the game is very interesting because this is also a Flying Terra Golden Go. Ursaluna is at -1 special defense, but you still have to worry about a Sleep Powder going on to, of course, the Kilowatt Roll slot. Now, this makes a lot of sense. If you can knock out the Jump Bluff, I'm curious if a Thunderbolt from Kilowatt Roll can just get a one-hit knockout on a Charizard, because there's no bulk on that Charizard. Flying Terras is also huge here. So Marco could go for the safe play of like protecting Ursaluna, maybe fishing for Sleep Powder into Kilowatt Roll.
Yeah, and I think Javier may be trying to bait Marco into trying to commit the 50-50. Do you go for the Facade or do you go for the Headlong Rush into the Golden Go, knowing that it can terrestrialize into flying? And this will be, at this point, I feel like Marco has a lot of momentum for himself. So if he can identify that Javier needs to make this bait the move, essentially he could even pull this with a Facade into that Ghost type immunity.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be the Flying Terra to come out, so Flying Terra is specifically very valuable for the ground type damage, and that's why it's being brought into a Ursaluna. But it means you don't get the extra damage output you normally want. Sleep Powder is going to miss here. Kind of expected it given how many times we've seen it used so far. It's just going to be Air Slash. Ursaluna critically didn't protect, so this should just be a knockout onto the Ursaluna, and Jump Bluff takes so much damage as well.
Well played, able to commit. Obviously 95% of the time is able to do that with the Air Slash, but most importantly, like you said, it is able to capitalize off of Marco wanting to just go on the offensive and say, right, I'm not, this team, the way that I play it, it's not to be played passively. You need to play aggressively, and you need to try to pick up those KOs as best as and quick as possible, but then it allows you to open up the room for this Charizard.
Yeah, this is really interesting now, right? Because there is still Terra available on the opposing side. The Golden Go going for the Flying Terra ends up not really doing very much, but there's the Thunderbolt pressure on a Charizard. So Charizard here could just go for a Ghost Terra. You could also Terra the Jump Bluff if you think Thunderbolt's going to go into the... But actually, I mean, if you think Air Slash is going to go into Jump Bluff and you think you can survive, maybe. But yeah, I think Ghost Terra on Charizard makes the most sense here. Guarantees that you'll survive the turn. You could, of course, go for Rage Powder here with the Jump Bluff as well. Redirect that Thunderbolt away and then just knock out Golden Go and bring the Kilowatt Roll down to Sash. But it's going to be Sleep Powder instead, and it is going to connect.
All right, so far living up to its accuracy. 3 out of 4s in total from this gameplay of Game 1 and Game 2. Kilowatt Roll, of course, does take mandatory turn of sleep, but he waits. Oh my lord, is this a double? No, okay, it's the Golden Go does avoid. Most crucially, Kilowatt Roll brought down to its Focus Sash, but that is pretty big.
That is, and the Golden Go here is going to go for Make It Rain, so Charizard now is Ghost type. It takes a lot of damage. Folks, is Choice Specs Charizard. There's no Protect on it, so if the Kilowatt Roll just wakes up this next turn, boom, Charizard's gone.
Oh Oh my lord. Okay, so all we're saying is, Aaron, it's just going to come down to, I don't know, just like, is it 1 out of 3, I believe,
Yep.
after mandatory?
Yep.
First. Okay, cool. So, no pressure, Kilowatt Drill.
You have to also hit the heat waves afterwards as well, right?
True.
So even
Very
if
true.
it stays asleep, maybe we could see a miss. And so, okay, let's see. I mean, the question here is that would Golden will want to consider protecting, doesn't want to consider switching out into the final Pokemon. You're slowly styling the sun. It's not going to be a switch. Kilowatt does wake up!
Oh my lord, Thunderbolt targets that Charizard, does pick up the KO, and all of a sudden, we have fate being rewritten. Javier is most likely forcing the game 3 with the scenario.
Oh my goodness, Make It Rain comes out. Now, I mean, Torkoal will be able to, of course, potentially pick up a double knockout right now, but then Javier still got one Pokemon in the back. The sun is slowly expiring as well. And so, yeah, this is the variance that Jump Bluff can induce. With those sleep powders, you can miss. Golden even survives that, actually, which is really impressive.
Yeah, and I think at this point, you just need to be able to, let's say, if you have an Ursaluna in the back for Javier, you just, like, guarantee the win here, to be honest. But, yeah, and there it is.
Yeah.
Okay, it has to be, right? But, yeah, at this point, being able to just go for your win condition, you had to wake up there. And the fact that he was able to bring a Golden Go into, like we said, a Sun matchup like this against Marco, who is on form, just goes to show a testament to his prowess as a trainer.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of things that went wrong for Marco in this endgame. Obviously, the Heat Wave miss on Slug Golden Goal, allowing it to KO the Jump Left, the immediate wake up with Kilowatt Drill. But that's kind of what happens when you use a composition like this sometimes, where you are flipping a lot of coins, and the coins are very much weighted in your favor, but you know, it's not like you just win the game, you know, 100% of the time.
It's
or
not
even
guaranteed.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to hit the heat waves. You have to hope to hit the sleep powders, and you know, not hope for non-early wake ups. And so it'll be really interesting because I do feel like Javier started games 1 and 2 kind of down pretty significantly. Keeps leading the Incineroar and Kilowatt Drill, so I wonder if
very well placed and being able to recognize the situation. All the pressure is on the field, and oh my lord, do we see a change-up?
Okay, it's the Trick Room adaptation here with Porygon 2 coming out. I mean, Porygon 2 also just very powerful offensively here at threatening with Ice Beam. And once again, Porygon's going to get a... Exactly.
Yeah, and I think in this scenario, we still have the Kilowatt Drill, and this might be a scenario that Marco identified, hence why he brought this lead, is to try to make the Kilowatt Drill feel out of place. And honestly, it very much will do so at Golden Go. So I think that's what Marco is actually banking on right now. They're not being a Porygon 2 and allowing him to try to utilize that Trick Room mode and just sweep the game.
I think this is a great adaptation, and I think Incineroar once again giving free switch-ins makes it a little bit tougher. Right now you do pressure, of course, with the knockoff. You have fake out pressure as well, but we saw the Headlong Rush earlier just knock out Incineroar, right? And so the question is, you could fake out at a Porygon, deny Trick Room. Yeah, so this is a Grass Terra. I was thinking maybe you could do this in the previous game to survive Headlong Rush, but then you have Grass Terra and Incineroar, so keep in mind that now you're going to be immensely weak to Charizard and Torkoal.
And I think if you're the Kilowatt Drill right now, like we mentioned, you feel a bit out of place. Do you just try to go for the air slash, maybe flinch it, or just go for the damage essentially on the Porygon 2? Because you got 2 options to go for, either Ursa or the P2, just to guarantee it, expecting to protect, but no protects.
No protect, really wants to deny the Trick Room here, so it's just going to be fake out air slash, decent damage. Let's see if we get a flinch right now.
Ooh, no flinch. But the Headlong Rush, of course, dealing very minimal damage, understandably because of the Grass Terra right now, but it does drop its defenses. So we know air slash, if the Ursaluna stays in the field, does not protect, will actually take a lot of damage and be in threat of the KO with the double up. Yeah,
you definitely pressure with Protect and Trick Room right now, so you can see Javier going for that double up on a Porygon. I wouldn't expect this to even knock out Porygon, but air slash has a really good chance to flinch. So this might be a switch in into the Torkoal saying, you know what, if I get Trick Room up right now, you're not going to KO Porygon, I'm just going to be able to use Torkoal. But you have to avoid crits and flinches. Air slash does connect. It's not very much damage.
Not very much damage, but this is definitely going to be a lot. Flare Blitz.
Yeah, it does survive. Is there a flinch right now?
Oh, we're going to find out in 3, 2, 1. No flinch, but Trick Room is set up, and what a momentous situation for Marco to have a Torkoal versus, yes, a Grass Terra Incineroar.
You can just see Marco breathe a sigh of relief here. He knows Torkoal under Trick Room now is a huge offensive threat. The Incineroar has Terra. There's Golden Go and Ursaluna in the back, so nothing can take these eruptions anymore. Marco has positioned himself absolutely perfectly. I think the main thing here is, do you want to consider reading into Kilowatt Drill Protect and go for a Recover with Porygon? For example, Recover Fire Terra Eruption, super safe right now.
Yeah, Yeah, as we are going to see the switch out, Incineroar wants to be able to be brought in, maybe with fake out pressure to be able to slow this Trick Room down. But Golden Go is going to be the victim of this eruption. Kilowattrel, of course, being brought down to its sash, but Golden Go is out for the count, and most likely gonna just be a follow-up recover, I feel. Like, you've got room to be able to add to that longevity, but if you want to really take advantage of Trick Room, you need to go and pick up the Kilowattrel and force Javier to have final 2 Pokemon.
Yeah. The recover comes out now. Like you said, Kilowattrel just caught in such an awkward spot. Thunderbolt actually will do reasonable damage since Kilowattrel's special defense is not the highest. And so you do get to switch it into Incineroar, you pressure with Fake Out, but let's not forget that there might still be a Charizard waiting in the back as well, right? So it's like you've got 2 really powerful attackers, Torkoal for under Trick Room, Charizard for after Trick Room. Recover's just a safer option there because a lot of times you expect Kilowattrel to go for the Protect there, so you might as well just get your guaranteed recovery.
Yeah, and I think, like we've mentioned as well, being able to have this sort of flexibility of different modes is something we definitely saw Marco take advantage of and, you know, be able to reach that finalist position in Gdansk only a couple of weeks ago, and just showing how confident he is in this playstyle. Kilowattrel, honestly, just a duck out of water in this scenario, unfortunately, and Javier's going to really have to hope to be able to find a way back, but it's looking very unlikely, if I'm completely honest.
I agree, yeah. It's really tough to see a path because, like, you kind of want to get your Ursaluna out and deal damage. Like, you know, you pressure with Fake Out this turn, but you're not doing enough damage, so maybe it's the double up on a Torkoal, but Torkoal can just protect here. Okay, you could also just Eruption Ice Beam here and just knock out Kilowattrel, so you don't even need to protect, honestly, and yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh!
Hold on, it is Ice Beam into Incin, so now you do get the knockout onto the Torkoal.
Okay, and I was kind of thinking, is there a situation where Javier might try to switch out the Kilowattrel to bring in that Ursaluna and enable the Flame Orb Guts boost for the Ursaluna the following? Try to, like, maybe take advantage of a weird positioning and with the Ursaluna, but no, the Torkoal's out, but we still have a lot of resource available for Marco to be able to utilize now.
Yeah, 2 turns of Trick Room right now, so the main thing is, yeah, can you stall out this Trick Room? You also need Kilowattrel to deal with Charizard in the end game. Like, what you're ideally angling for is something like, yeah, just a Thunderbolt into it, right?
Right.
What's also crucial is Marco actually did not commit the Terror earlier with Torkoal, and ends up being a great decision because he didn't need the extra damage output in order to KO the Golden Go and bring Kilowattrel down to Sash, which means you can still have Terror on your Pokemon. But we're finally going to see Kilowattrel protect after just attacking under Trick Room, not getting knocked out.
I think Javier's identified the win condition of going for the double protect with the Kilowattrel, having the Ursaluna protect, get the Flame Orb activation, and then trying to sweep with Tailwind and hope that you can actually reverse this, and then allow yourself to outspeed the Charizard subsequently.
Absolutely. Facade comes out. I do totally agree with that. I think you need the double protect. I think one of the downsides of Torkoal going down there and why I was surprised to not see the protect is because now you don't actually have the Sun, and a Charizard outside of Sun is actually definitely less scary. You still, of course, have a very powerful overheat. So, you know, you pressure with a lot of damage, but my question is whether or not there's any chance Ursaluna can survive here, but there is still critically 1 turn of Trick Room right now, so you need to stall it out.
Yeah, I mean, the odds are definitely in Marco's favor, but we already saw how that game 2 played out. You never know how this game 3 endgame is going to...
there's the double protect hover. Okay.
My Lord,
Does the Kilowattrel get the double protect? Ursaluna is actually going to pivot out right now, so trying to get the Charizard in. Oh, it's Incineroar. It's not Charizard.
Okay, that changes things.
It changes everything. We were talking about this game like it was endgame Charizard, but I think Incin's such a pivotal final Pokemon here. Does activate that competitive. So let's see, is there the double protect right now? Okay, it's going to be Ursaluna. Even if you get it, though, you can just fake out into it next turn. So I think Marco should win this one, but it does get the double.
All right, it gets the double. Do we think maybe there's a triple on the horizon, or is it even necessary at this point?
Yeah, I think you probably do go for the... Let's see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, because you can... This is all going to be around... I feel like Trick Room has to come out from the P2, right? Like, because you just want to be able to shut it down. So it's just going to be about if Javier can catch the fake out slot.
I think the Incineroar adjustment was really smart here. Like, I was a little bit stressed because I was like, oh, if it's Charizard, you got to hit your moves, and there's no more Sun anymore. But this makes perfect sense for Incin to be the final one. Now, normally it's kind of scary to activate that competitive, but of course you're covering for Kilowattrel attacking there. If it doesn't get the double protected faints immediately, the game should just be over. But right now, Incineroar, of course, pressures with that fake out. And there it is. Gets the competitive boost, but is not going to be able to get any value. We don't see an attempt for a triple protect. Now it's a 3v1 with an intimidated Ursaluna.
Is it going to crit is the real question here. Facade does target that. Nearly picks up the KO, but Trick Room has now been set. This is Marco's domain, and in this scenario, I think this is all she wrote. Although, to be fair, Ursaluna is still such a threat under Trick Room, and the speed interactions will be quite fascinating between the Instant and Ursa, but we've got the P2, which is available, most likely going to be under speed.
Yeah, I think you recover, you can Terra the Ensign, parting shot,
Exactly.
and then just really make the Ursaluna miserable. So at this point, should be more of a formality, but I don't know, if we get like multiple Earthquake critical hits, maybe there's a shot, but I want to give Marco huge props for committing to a completely different mode, bringing out Trick Room, dropping Charizard and Jump Bluff both, which were key for him in the previous games.
Yeah, and I think just being able to masterfully do that in such a fashion as well is so much of a superb display of his experience and skill. There we go. Ice Beam not quite enough to be able to pick up the KO, but P2's down, Incineroar's available, Flare Blitz. This may well actually pick up the KO.
Yeah.
There it is, and that's all she wrote. Marco Silva is going with 6-1 into the final round.
And he will continue the opportunity to defend his title, of course, securing a spot already